jump into my top 20, let me just say that these 20 coasters are my opinions out of the 164 that I have ridden. I definitely have some popular opinions, some unpopular opinions, but without further ado, let's jump right on into it. Number 20 is going to be Acrobat at Nagashima Spa in Japan. This is a great roller coaster, has a pretty cool drop and an amazing forceful pretzel loop, which feels like an elephant is sitting on your chest. Number 19 is the Beast at Kings Island. This is my favorite coaster in the park. I love the intensity. One thing I also super like a lot is the tunnels. One part of the ride that's probably my favorite part of the ride is the drop out of the lift hill, and then it goes into that giant helix. Very fun coaster. Number 18 is Boulder Dash. The main focus of this coaster is airtime. That's definitely its specialty. But regardless, I love the awesome intensity and has a cool drop as well. Number 17 is Millennium Force. This coaster is very controversial. Personally, I like the airtime and drop, but it is a bit repetitive and it's not intense or forceful at all. Number 16 is Gold Striker. This is a very fun coaster. It's definitely very re-rideable. I rode this almost 8 times during my one stay at the park. And yeah, has an awesome drop. I wish that there was a little bit more airtime, but regardless, it's a fun coaster. Number 15 is Steel Dragon 2000. It's a very fun coaster. Gets a lot of hate from people who haven't ridden it. So if you hate on this coaster but you haven't ridden it, just don't hate on it because it's a very fun coaster. It has a nice combination of floater and ejector airtime. Even though it's not the most intense or forceful coaster, it's such a fun and re-rideable coaster that it almost makes up for it. Number 14 is Renegade at Valley Fair, and this is probably the most underrated coaster I've ever ridden. Has some amazing airtime, the intensity is really nice, and yeah, it's just a really awesome coaster. I definitely wish it was a little bit longer, but regardless, it's a fun ride. Number 13 is Afterburn at Carowinds. This is a great number 2 in the park. It's super intense. I love everything about the coaster. Very re-rideable despite its intensity. Awesome coaster. Number 12 is Twisted Timbers at King's Dominion. Definitely a very overrated coaster, but regardless, I love the intensity. I love the airtime, which, for most of the ride, the airtime's good, but definitely in the second half, like after the cutback conversion, it loses most of its steam. Number 11 is El Toro, and holy moly, this ride is amazing. The reason it misses out on my top 10 is because the past 2 times I've been to the park, it's been closed, and I've only ridden El Toro once. So yeah, but based on my one ride, I thought it had great airtime. It's definitely a fun coaster. Number 10 is Railblazer at California's Great America. This is the only Rocky Mountain Construction Raptor I've ridden, but holy moly, this ride is incredible. The airtime is surprisingly amazing. All 3 inversions are great and intense, and it's just, the restraints are kind of annoying, but the ride makes up for it. Number 9 is Flying Dinosaur, and holy moly, this coaster is great. Has big and graceful elements, but somehow it manages to accomplish intensity and forcefulness. So yeah, it's definitely a great coaster. Number 8 is a coaster I fanboy over way too much. This is Wicked Cyclone, and wow, this coaster is amazing. Has some amazing airtime. All 3 inversions provide great hang time. The drop is great in the back. People say that this has pacing issues, but so do most Rocky Mountain Construction coasters, so I don't have any issues with this coaster. Number 7 is Steel Vengeance, and I know that's a very unpopular opinion to rank it this low, but yeah, this coaster is great. I love how it's very consistent in its ride experience. It has a nice combination of floater and ejector airtime. Very fun coaster. Number 6 is Skyrush at Hershey Park. Definitely the main concern with this ride is the restraints, but I don't mind them at all, especially if you ride towards the middle of the, row. The front is definitely the best on this coaster. Airtime is very forceful. Definitely a fun coaster. Number 5 is The Voyage at Holiday World. I love this coaster. The 3 90-degree bank turns was actually my favorite part. The giant floater hills are great. I love the drop as well. Very fun coaster. Number 4 is Fury 325. This coaster definitely lost a bit of its steam after Steel Vengeance, but it's still one of my favorite coasters. Has an incredible drop. I love the intensity. The floater airtime could be a bit better in the second half, but regardless, it's a fun coaster. Also very long. Number 3 is Maverick at Cedar Point. Now last year, this was my number 1 coaster, which means that I rode 2 coasters that I thought were better. But regardless, Maverick is an amazing coaster. Basically, from the launch to the brake run is probably the most intense stretch of track that you can experience on a coaster. It's very fun. The drop is great. The airtime's pretty forceful and straight up ejector. Both launches are great as well. Number 2 is Intimidator 305 at King's Dominion in Doswell, Virginia. And yeah, this coaster is amazing. As someone who basically has intensity at the top of, their to-do list for coasters, this is, my favorite steel coaster. It's an amazing experience. I love the drop. The floater airtime's good too. A lot of people complain that the coaster, that has bad restraints, but I don't mind them at all. If this coaster had lap bars, it would just be way too much. So yeah. So I've ridden 164 roller coasters, and I've only given about 3 of them an A+. And number 1 is by far the best coaster I've ever ridden. It's not even close. I mean, Intimidator 305, kind of trails behind it. But yeah, Lightning Rod is by far my number 1. The drop is great. The launch is unique and pretty forceful. The airtime is straight up ejector. The wave turn provides some of the weirdest sideways airtime you can experience on a coaster. The quadruple down is easily my favorite element on any coaster. It's wooden, which makes it automatically better. Everything about this coaster is literally perfect. I cannot describe this coaster. It is perfection. So yeah, that's my top 20. I know it's very controversial, but be sure to post your top 10 down in the comment section below and your coaster count. I'll catch you all next time, guys. See you later.